Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Monday Night Travel with Rick Steves Europe. Tonight, we get to share with you a few of our favorite Italian wine experiences. And now, I would like to welcome our European travel guide and fellow Italian wine admirer, Rick Steves. Buonasera, Rick.
Hey, Ben. Ben, have you ever had a nice bottle of wine in your pantry that you're saving for a special occasion?
Absolutely.
Well, this is that special occasion because this is the nicest bottle of wine in my house, a Brunello di Montalcino. And I'm drinking it all alone, but not all alone. I've got thousands of people coming in tonight because we're celebrating travel. And it's great to be here. It's great to join you every Monday as we stoke our travel dreams. And you know, when you've traveled and you drink a little wine from where you traveled and you take a moment and you let it dance in your head like a good wine does. We're going to be doing that for the next hour, okay? So I love to teach and enthuse about travel. And with this lockdown, I can't travel and I can't even travel around the country and share my travel talks. So for me, this is a real blessing to be able to invite everybody into my home. I've been scampering around all afternoon knowing I've got some guests coming over. That's you. And we're all set. I've got my food ready. I dropped by my favorite local Italian restaurant, Bucatini, here in Edmonds, north of Seattle. And I asked Antonio to make me up a nice antipasto spread. And this is the vegetables. And then, of course, with an antipasto, you get a nice mix of different meats and cheeses. And then you put it on some rustic bread, some beautiful rustic Italian bread. And you drizzle nice olive oil over all of it. And that's the first course. It's antipasto. That means before the pasta. And the second course, pasta. So you got, that's called the primi. Well, actually, antipasto is before any courses. And then the first course is primi piatti on an Italian menu. And that would be your pasta. And this is fresh artichoke with beautiful pork belly bacon, sweet peas, roasted garlic, smoked mozzarella, and Parmigiano Reggiano, which I'm going to sprinkle over it in just a moment. But this is my seasonal pasta. And this is fresh artichoke pasta. And with that pork belly bacon. Simon, my TV producer, said never eat while you're talking on camera, but I just couldn't resist. I'm sorry. I suppose that goes for drinking too. So I'll talk more about my beautiful dinner in just a moment, but I'm well into this bottle of Brunello because this is the second showing tonight. And where's the label? There you go. And I'm determined to finish this baby in the next hour. But we're going to do that in good style because I'm going to take you now, as we like to do, into a program that we've devised, which is called Classroom Europe. And if we go to, let me just go to Rick Steves' home here. And there we go. And when we go to Rick Steves, we will then find all of the things that we do at Rick Steves Europe. And, you can check out all of our TV shows. We're just seeing clips tonight. We've got 100 different shows, so you can see them all anytime you like for free. We've got 500 hours of radio. We've got a lot of amazing radio interviews there you can check out. It's free. Our guides, we have 100 guides in Europe that can't work right now, but they are just passionate. They've got so many ways that they can share their culture, their cuisine, their language, and they're all right there in the guides marketplace. You can visit with them. You can connect with them. You can make friends with them. We're going to meet Anna Piparato in just a little while, and we're going to see what she's doing with her language lesson. You've got information about our tours. We've got all of our tours ready to go. It's just as soon as we get the go-ahead to travel safely, we've got our guides and hotels and bus drivers standing by. We've got 10,000, 15,000 people with their names on the waiting list. It's all in our tour program. You can go to Monday Night Travel and see what is coming up next week or the week after that, or you can watch some of our shows over the last 16 weeks, 4 months of Monday Night Travels we got in our archive. But right now, we're going to go to Classroom Europe. And Classroom Europe is a program we made as a gift to teachers. We took all of our TV shows and break out the 500 best little teachable clips. And when we look at these, and the cool thing about these teachable clips is, A teacher, a parent, a traveler can organize these into playlists. And then you can save the playlist for the public to share. You can save it in your personal archive. You can email the link to your friends. And we're going to right now make a playlist about wine. So we go into the themes and we look for food. And I click there and I've got 56 clips. Well, that's way too much for tonight. So let's check out the countries and we'll click on Italy. And there happen to be 15 clips that are both food and Italy. Now let's put together a playlist of 5 or 6 clips here to give us half an hour of programming. Mount Etna has some great wineries. That's a very trendy thing in Italy. We're going to go to the volcano and try some wine. Red wine and red meat. I'm sorry. This is for carnivores. It's so nice. Red wine and red meat in Chianti beef country. We'll check out that. I love staying in a farmhouse B&B and eating with the aristocratic family surrounded by portraits of all their distant relatives enjoying the fruit of their farm. We'll check out that experience. What else can we enjoy? A family-run winery in Chianti. That sounds interesting. Venerable wine state in Umbria and Italian farm culture. So now if we go back up and we see what we've got in our playlist, we've got 6 videos, 26 minutes, and that's pretty good. So let's go to our playlist now and we'll see we've got these 6 videos. You can organize it any way you want. So I'm going to, I think I'm going to move red wine and red meat up to the top. So we'll kick it off with some red wine and red meat. And let's give this thing a name. I think we're going to call it Wine Fest Monday Night Travel. Now you could, again, save that on the public playlist and the whole world could enjoy it. You could save it on your own archive and use it as you like. You could send a link to your students or your travel partner or your loved ones just to make them jealous. Or you could just play it right now. We're going to save it. And now, if I go to my playlists, I can find Wine List Monday Night Travel. That's what I just produced. So we're going to now put this, our travel dreams in action, thanks to Monday Night Travel. And we're going to check out that list that I just put together. And I want to remind you that when we look at these clips, it's more than wine. It's the culture. It's the sightseeing. This is all just about an hour drive south of Florence, or most of it is. And we're going to start right off now in the area around Montepulciano. That's the best hill town for your home base for exploring the best wine of Tuscany. Thanks again for joining us, and we're off and running now with Monday Night Travel Italian
A
wine.
short and scenic drive south takes us through some of Italy's finest wine country. This is the land of 2 beloved local wines, Brunello di Montalcino and Vino Nobile di Montepulciano. The vineyards here produce some of the very best wines in the world, and travelers who call in advance are welcome to visit and tour the wineries. Beautifully tended vines soak up the spring sun as hardworking vintners hope that this year's vintage will be one to remember. And overlooking it all is the hill town of Montepulciano.
There you go. That's your home base. There's 2 towns, Montalcino and Montepulciano. It's confusing. This town is far more interesting and fun than Montalcino. So remember, there you got the word, Montepulciano.
The town's sleepy main piazza is surrounded by a grab bag of architectural sites. The medieval town hall resembles nearby Florence's Palazzo Vecchio, a reminder that about 500 years ago, Montepulciano allied itself with Florence.
You can see the Piazza Palazzo Signoria right in Florence. This is just a pint-sized version of that because this was a colony of Florence back when, long before there was an Italy. On this square, you've got the center of the town, and nearby, you got my favorite B&B, Giovanni's Place. You've got my favorite coppersmith, Cesare. You've got Cantucci wine. They're the people that made my backup bottle of wine here in case I run out of my Brunello. It says right there, Cantucci. And that's the family that's on this square. And you've got a springboard for tours from there out into the countryside to see the different wineries.
The crenellations along the roof were never intended to hide soldiers. They just symbolize power. But the big central tower makes it clear that the city's keeping an eye out in all directions. For centuries, this town has celebrated its independent spirit. And today, these young people carry on that tradition and entertain their visitors with a colorful ritual.
Wow, nice to go to a small town where they're excited about an American film crew. Coming to Florence, they don't really care. But in a little town like this, the kids who do the flag and the drum group, they're right there in the square whenever we want to film them. Underneath the square, it's honeycombed with wine cellars. We're going to climb down into the wine cellars. By the way, I don't know if you can see this on your little picture-in-picture, but I'm dipping my bread into my olive oil with salt and pepper, and I'm biting off the end. And that's called making the scarpetta, making the little shoe. And when you're hanging out with students in Italy, they're all making the scarpetta and talking and drinking their wine.
Being a wine-producing capital, Montepulciano is built upon a honeycomb of wine cellars. Palazzo Ricci sits atop a particularly impressive series of cellars. Joining a vintner, we descend a long staircase. Heading deep down into the hill that Montepulciano is built upon, the temperature noticeably drops. And eventually, we end up at street level.
Well, there's my friend Roberto. Let me get you a better frame of Roberto because I love Roberto. There he is. And I just talked to Roberto on the phone. He lives right a few miles away from here. And he said if I call him a wonderful young man, he'd be up and awake watching this live as we are watching it right now. So I think it's like 4 o'clock in the morning in Tuscany. Roberto's there. And Roberto is our fixer. He's the ultimate guide in this region. Anytime we're working with our TV crew, it's Roberto that is going ahead and helping us meet all these amazing people. And half of the people we're going to see this in this next program tonight are thanks to Roberto. And Roberto is a very busy tour guide. He's got wonderful guides that work with him. You can learn about his program at Tours by Roberto. It's quite easy, toursbyroberto.com. But thank you, Roberto, for helping us out.
Street level of the lower town. Climbing even further down, we reach gigantic barrels under even more gigantic vaults and a chance to learn about the wine that's aging here.
These are very big barrels.
Yeah, of course, it's very big barrel, 10,000 liters. It's made the wood, the Slavonian wood.
10,000 liters. How many bottles would that?
13,000.
For this wine, it's the artful combination of aging in large, medium, and small oak barrels that gets the tannin levels just right.
Enrico, when was the first barrel of wine here in this cellar?
From 37.
700 years.
Of course, sure.
My goodness.
And for our last stop, a chance to taste some of the wine as it's aging.
It just occurred to me, you know, why I'm no sophisticate. I always feel like when I'm really enjoying wine that's not cheap wine, it sounds like a pseudo-sophisticate, but sip your wine and let it dance in your head. It's a beautiful thing. It's a gift from God. Think of the sunlight that's captured in here. Think of the generations of love and experimentation and creativity. Think of what you can experience when you go to a place like Italy or France or Spain or wherever they make fine wine with a great heritage. To go there, learn about it, and then come home and for the rest of your life, it'll be one of the beautiful things.
And I'm forever the attentive student.
So how old would this wine be here?
1 year.
1 year.
Basically.
So this is baby Nobile di Montepulciano.
Baby Vino Nobile, born now.
Born now. It's a little tiny baby. And when it's finished, how old will the wine be?
3 years old.
3 years. And is this good? Can you tell when you taste?
For me, the wine is how my son. It's very, very nice.
You love the wine like your son?
Yeah.
You love your...
So you can see by the sophistication of my questions that I'm just basically a buffoon when it comes to wine, but anybody can appreciate the wine. And what I really like is to be able to go to Italy and go to an enoteca. That's the key word, enoteca. That's a little wine shop where they serve wine in appropriate small plates of food, and spend what seems like a lot of money for a glass of the finest wine and let it do its thing.
Son like the wine. The same. Good.
The people of Montepulciano seem to enjoy their red meat as much as their red wine. And this osteria is a carnivore's dream come true. Its long, narrow room, jammed with shared tables, leads to a busy kitchen with an open fire. Giulio, his wife Chiara, and their staff serve their hungry crowd like a well-choreographed meat eater's ballet. Weight and price is agreed upon at the table.
You know what? That's good. Made it.
Then it's leave it to Cleaver.
Leave it to Cleaver, one of my favorite lines. I'm surprised Simon let me put that into the TV show. But this is a cool place. This is a wonderful little steakhouse. It's called Osteria del Acquacetta. And this is the kind of place I find and put in my book. This is 1,200 pages of listings, this Rick Steves Italy book. It's my best-selling guidebook. And I just love this book. And you meet all of these amazing artisans and shopkeepers and restaurateurs and guest house owners and so on. And this little steakhouse, it's so popular. No reservations. You just line up. There's one seating at 7:30 and one seating at 9:30. If you're there a little early, you're in the crowd. And then he opens the door. Bam! Everybody's seated. Everybody gets their beautiful meat. They have a wonderful time. There's the local meat with the local wine in a cellar that's surrounded by happy Italian diners. And then you're on your way. It's good travel. It is good travel.
The meat is seared over embers for just a few minutes before being cut from the bone.
I can smell it already. Oh, look at that. Nice.
And in Tuscany, the correct way to enjoy a steak is rare.
Okay, now we're going to get into gestures. Because in Italy, you're going to be encountering gestures all the time. And we're going to meet Anna and Umbra, two guides from this area who are, like any guides in Europe right now, not able to do any work, but they've got their sharing and their teaching, and they're doing it in their virtual way on their website. So this is the example of the guides that we have passionately sharing their culture, their language, their history, their art, and so on in our guides marketplace at ricksteves.com. Again, until we can actually sell tours, what we're doing is using our website to connect travelers with guides when there are no tours. And it's just such a fun thing to be able to enjoy the passion, the teaching passion of our guides. So you're going to meet Anna and Umbra. And Anna is one of our guides at Rick Steves Europe. And notice how cleverly they did the social distancing here, how much fun they're having in teaching. And as we listen to Umbra speaking in Italian, it's certainly nice to have the Italian language right there so we can hear the words and read what she is saying. Now we're going to learn about the gestures.
Hi guys, I'm Ambra, and once again, I'm here with my friend Anna. Ciao Anna.
Ciao Ambra. So today I thought that we would talk about Renaissance humanism and how to discuss 15th century philosophy in it. Oh, what are you doing?
Oh, e dai, è noioso.
Boring? You think that's boring? Fine. What do you want to do today, Ambra?
Beh, potremmo ad esempio parlare del fatto che in Italia puoi esprimere tanti concetti solo con un dito.
Okay, fine. We'll do Renaissance humanism another time. Okay, Ambra, what can I do with my fingers?
Per esempio, se prendi il tuo dito e lo porti qui, cosa succede? Buono! Questo vuol dire che quello che stai mangiando è proprio buono.
Ah, so that way, when you're out at a restaurant and the waiter comes by and says, "How's your meal?" Your mouth is always full when that happens. So you can just go.
Tutti capiranno che ti è piaciuto tanto.
What if I move my finger?
Qui, per esempio, e quando stai pensando, finalmente arriva l'idea. Ah, ho avuto un'idea. Solo un dito.
So just with one finger, this means, I've got an idea.
Esatto. Ma se sposti il dito un po' più giù, proprio qui sotto l'occhio, Sai che cosa vuol dire questo, Anna?
No, what does it mean?
Questo significa che sei furbo. Quando fai qualcosa di veramente clever. Ah.
Ah. But do you have to go like this?
Non è necessario arrivare fino qui, ma solo appena appena. Quindi oggi abbiamo imparato che questo vuol dire non mi interessa oppure che noia. Abbiamo imparato che questo significa ma che stai dicendo? Abbiamo anche imparato che con un solo dito possiamo esprimere tanti concetti come buono, furbo, idea. Tutto solo con un dito.
Magic.
Magic.
I'm feeling very bilingual with just my little finger. Eureka! I've got it! I'm learning Italian, one finger at a time.
Eureka, for us, Eureka. Just saying.
Eureka!
Mm-mm.
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 2 fingers. No.
This is international. 2 fingers.
No. So we've been learning many words in Italian, but you also need to use your hands.
Sì, noi in Italia usiamo tanto le nostre mani per esprimere ogni concetto.
I have a very bad Italian joke. Do you want to hear it?
Mm-hmm.
How do you get an Italian to shut up?
I don't know.
You don't know? Tie her hands behind her back.
It's true.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was volume 1 of gestures. We will come back with Ambra to learn many more.
Vi aspettiamo alla prossima puntata di
Essential.
Italiano. Ciao.
Arrivederci.
E ti Anna.
You know, one thing I love about the way they're teaching is they understand what we need to know, and it's just fun and easy and accessible. Anna Piparato on the right there is, she works for us in our tour program. And she's what I just think is a really advantage for a guide. She was raised and born in America, but now she has totally embraced Italy and she lives and teaches in Siena. And she's got that understanding of American culture and communicating, and she's got that passion for the local culture. She puts it together in her teaching. You know, we've got 50 guides that are all participating in our guides marketplace, and I can just get sucked into it and spend hours looking through all the clever work our guides are doing. If you go to ricksteves.com, right on the front page, you see the guides marketplace. Again, our tour program, we'll be selling tours, you know, in a few months, but right now we're just sending our travelers to our guides so they can connect and celebrate and teach and inspire. And there's lots going on in the guides marketplace. Now we're going to go to Sicily. And I want to remind you, when you buy a famous Tuscan wine, it's going to be expensive. You pay for the name, Brunello di Montalcino. It's what every unsophisticated Italian tourist knows about, and that's what we're talking about, and pay double for it. You go to Sicily, nobody knows the names of the wine down there, and they're very good. We're going to go there right now and learn more about that.
Sicily is small, about the size of Vermont, and the autostrada makes it smaller yet. In just 3 hours, we're clear across the island and heading toward the highest point in Sicily. At about 11,000 feet, Mount Etna, Europe's biggest volcano, towers majestically above the villages and farmland of the east coast. Ascending dramatic switchbacks, we pass a buried house, an eerie reminder of recent lava flows. While there's a serious eruption every few years, we should be okay today. There are different ways to experience the mountain, and we're taking the easy route. A gondola sweeps us over an otherworldly land of lava. At the top of the lift, we board an all-terrain shuttle. Climbing higher yet up the rugged track, visitors marvel as views get ever more dramatic. Finally, at the end of the road, we hike to the lip of a vast crater. Hiking the circular rim leaves us with unforgettable memories. Today, the mountain's quiet, but small plumes of smoke and steam remind us that this peaceful perch can change in a hurry. Geologically speaking, Sicily is part Europe and part Africa. It's where two tectonic plates, the Eurasian plate and the African plate, are slowly colliding. That's why there's lots of tremors and volcanic activity. Today, the slopes of Etna are renowned for their fertile soil and some of the finest vineyards in Sicily. We're visiting the Benanti family estate, getting to know the father and his twin sons for a taste of this dimension of the island.
We're in the slopes of Mount Etna, Europe's most active volcano, and actually a great wine region. What we have here is volcanic soil. The soil comes from lava. Eruptions from thousands of years ago have now become sand mixed with rocks, and they provide minerality to our wines. The soil gives the minerality, the altitude keeps the vines fresh. Therefore, wines from Etna are highly distinctive, and they're known for their elegance and finesse. Etna, just like the rest of Sicily, has been producing grapes for thousands of years, but only in the last 3 decades has the quality of Etna wine achieved such great notoriety and prestige.
So this is one of my favorite challenges as a TV producer. I've got my friend, Salvino, and he's never been on, well, he's probably been on camera before, but it's new for him. And I've got an idea. He's got this huge wine press here in his house, giant wine press, centuries old. We want to see it. I want him to talk about it, not me, but it's got to be snappy. And it's got to be there, and then into the next room where we're going to sit down and taste the wine. So we walked through, we got the rhythm, and he just nailed it. We had to do it twice because we have only one camera, but we've got to get 2 angles so we can cut it all together. And now we have Salvino explaining his big wine press before we go into the room and meet his brother and my friend Alfio, who's our local guide, and try some of the Benanti family wine. Here we go.
Wine has been made here for 200 years. The grapes will be gathered up there on the top level and be crushed by the workers' feet. They would then be crushed a second time in the central vat, using this very heavy chestnut tree trunk as a press, aided by this very heavy stone and the bar, which would be turned heavily to press the grapes. The juice would then flow in here, ferment, and after 1 year, you would have wine. But this time, you don't have to wait that long.
All right, thank you. We join our guide Alfio and Salvino's twin brother, Antonio, to taste some of the family's wine. So we all know Italian wine. What about Sicilian wine? It feels like it's the new kid on the block.
Well, a lot of wine has always been made on Sicily, but again, Sicily was sort of laid back and somewhat poor region. But in the last couple of decades, new generations are more affluent and more sophisticated, and that is showing in the wines.
So as a Sicilian vintner, would you say, look out Tuscany?
Yes, you know, the whole world should keep an eye on what is happening in Sicily. The beauty of wine is diversity and mirroring a culture in a glass. So we are not trying to be like somebody else or like some other regions. We want to show the full potential of this region, and I think it's starting to show.
And Antonio, to that I would say, buon lavoro.
Buon lavoro, grazie.
Buon lavoro, buon lavoro. That's a good example of knowing a few key words. So, so you can connect with your new Italian friends. And you know, I got to say, I got more friends in Italy than any country in Europe. And part of it's because Italians love to communicate. They don't have high standards. They'll just, if you're trying, they'll accept it and you can be there. And young Italians, like you just saw, are likely to speak English. So that was the Benanti family vineyard. And we're sitting there with our friend Alfio, one of our tour guides. Alfio found that in the off season, and then he brings us there and we realize this is wonderful. And we take all of our groups there for that same experience. At Rick Steves Europe, we have a sort of a system where everything works together, TV, guidebooks, and tours. And you can't do one without the other. They all subsidize each other. They all work and support each other. They all rely on each other and benefit from each other. So we hadn't done Sicily until very recently. And we decided, okay, it's time to do Sicily. So we went down and we researched the guidebook. And when we learned about our research from the guidebook, we decided what we could do for TV shows. We made 2 TV shows. We got 1 hour on Sicily. If you want to check it out, you can go right over to our website and watch that. And then once we got the TV show and the guidebooks, we know about it. We've got the foundation, we've got the context. Then we can take our tours there. And it's a thriving part of our tour program, Sicily. It all works together. And when you have charming guides, wonderful guides, and charming hosts, like we just said with Salvino and his family, you really have a great opportunity. Hey, I just want to remind you, I hope that you're enjoying your food. Every week we try to eat something characteristic about where we're traveling. And my theme tonight is sip slowly and let it travel. Let it travel. There's a reason this wine costs more than the other wines, and it's because it's a little bit complex, and it's very important to match it properly with the right food. And we've got food from the same place as this wine. And I went to Bucatini, my favorite local Italian restaurant in Edmonds, and we got this this Sandinale prosciutto. It is cured, it is raw, and it is air dried. It's nothing but pork legs and sea salt. And when you go to Spain, you've got jamón ibérico. It costs double the regular ham, and it's worth it. And I was just going to bite this, but I'll do it later. But it is really good, the Sandinale. We've got beautiful mushrooms. We've got various kinds of salami, and this is all part of our antipasto. We've also got oyster mushrooms. We've got roasted eggplant. We've got beautiful cantaloupe and broccoli and beans and all of the, I want to remind you, when you travel in Italy, you got this chance to enjoy the Italian equivalent of a salad bar. It's called the antipasto bar. Sometimes it's self-serve and you pick up the plate and you just pick whatever you like. I love that because it's just a cornucopia of beautiful Italian vegetables, but sometimes they'll assemble it yourself, which is great also, but it's a cheap and healthy way to have a meal. You can share it with your partner. And then you've got your pasta, and then you've got your olive oil that you just drizzle the beautiful olive oil on everything. You got your nice local wine. What's not to like about that? We're going to travel on right now. I do want to remind you that Ben is collecting your questions. If you have any questions, type them into the Q&A widget there, the chat widget, and we will be able to answer those in just a few minutes. I also want to remind you that I'm so thankful for my staff. I've got 100 people that work with me at Rick Steves Europe, and 3 of them are involved in Monday Night Travel. We got Julianne, we've got Ben, and we've got Gabe, and they are just wonderful, enabling us to do this, bring this to you every Monday. So thanks for keeping us all busy. Let's travel on.
The countryside of Umbria and Tuscany is velvety green in the spring. Fertile fields are set off by venerable estates and cypress tree-lined windy lanes.
Imagine when we're in the script, it says cypress-lined windy lanes. So we're out looking for cypress-lined windy lanes. Hey, there's one. Stop the car. That's me driving back up, or Simon driving back up, and drive the van back down, and the cameraman sets up his tripod, and we got it right there.
Before moving on to our next hill town, we're stopping by the Tenuta La Valletta vineyard to sample the most famous product of the region, the Orvieto Classico wine.
And look right there, right across from the bluff, straight across, you've got the town of Orvieto. This is where the Pope would go when he was under attack. It's got a perfect fortification with all those cliffs surrounding it. It's on a little tuft of land created by the volcano. And that's where you've got the great church and all of the historic buildings of Orvieto. It's a wonderful town. And then from there, it's your springboard to enjoy vineyards like we're going to see right now at the Bottai family. So we're driving in, it's TV. So we've got this family, they've never had a TV crew here. So we got the camera set up. Everybody's sitting here relaxing, very candid. We stop the car and suddenly everybody pops out. Whoa, what a surprise.
The Bottai family is happy to show thirsty and prospective customers around their estate.
So this is our farm that belongs to our family since 6 generations.
I can tell this is a very old TV show because I'm wearing my khaki pants. Nothing wrong with khakis, but I used to just wear nothing but khakis, and people would always think that's my uniform: a blue shirt, solid blue shirt, khaki pants. And now I'm normally into jeans. I like jeans better when I'm traveling. Also, I had longer hair. And I remember the first time I got my hair cut in Italy, first time I got my hair cut short, it was a bit of the language barrier. And a guy in a fancy little salon style beauty shop said, "Oh, don't worry, I'll make your hair good." And he cut my hair short. He was Simone. And ever since then, I've had my hair shorter. It's much nicer. But it was because of the language barrier that happy accident happened. Okay, here's Cecilia's brother, and we're going to enjoy a little look at their house, but starting off with a view of Orvieto.
And our fields, we have a lot of history coming from the Etruscan time.
I can imagine.
A good area for making wine because of the volcanic soil just in front of the view of the beautiful town of Orvieto. And if you like, I can take you to the vines to show you.
I would like that.
White pieces. Yes, very fertile. Yes. So this is our soil, a volcanic soil, very rich on minerals, on which our vines grow and produce our Orvieto Classico wine. So this is a little bunch.
Yeah.
And if you've ever seen a Rick Steves TV show talking about a beautiful vineyard, you're going to see a little bunch, not a big, beautiful, busting with juice and flavor and the excitement of the harvest, bunch of grapes, but it is in April and May because we always shoot in the Mediterranean in April and May. We shoot north of the Alps in July and August. I don't know when I shoot, but if I look at a show, if it's in the Mediterranean, I can tell you it was shot in April or May. And if it was north of the Alps, it was shot in June or in July or August. So all of our vineyard shots are with these tiny little buds of grapes, but it still works.
It will be ripe in September. It starts now to grow and we'll pick it in 6 months.
And in how many years until that is actually drunk and enjoyed as wine?
We will drink this wine in 18 months and we'll go on drinking this wine for 2 more years.
So how long have people been making wine right here?
People have been making wine here since the Etruscan times, 20 centuries.
And the family house has a history nearly as rich as the vineyard.
You know, Rick, this house is very old. The very central block was a control tower that was built in 1000. Then, when the tower got destroyed, the monks Premostratensi took the place, they renovated it and made it a monastery. And my family, in fact, bought this property in the middle of the 1800s, and they re-renovated the whole building according to the style of that period. And so the frescoes you have now, they are dated 1800 something.
So this is all romantic from the 19th century?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And this is the piano room, and my great-grandmother loved to play the piano, and this is a piano that Franz Liszt used to play.
Franz Liszt played this piano?
Franz Liszt played this piano several times.
I've got to try it. Can I try it?
Please.
Oh, my goodness.
My pleasure to listen to you.
It's not Franz Liszt, but he might enjoy that.
So come on, Rick, I take you to our secret place, the secret cellar.
I got to say, this is one of the most enjoyable things about an agriturismo in Tuscany. So many old farmhouses are sitting on a place that's been there for centuries, millennia. And this house has a door that just seems like going into the pantry from the kitchen. Like so many old farmhouses, it opens up into a stairway that goes down to 500 meters, that's half a kilometer, of cellar tunnels that were carved 500 years before Christ by the Etruscans. Remember, we are in Tuscany, and the word Tuscany comes from Etruscans, and the Etruscans were the civilization that the Romans came out of. They predated Rome by centuries. We're going to climb now down into Cecilia's Etruscan cellar.
The little door and the cellar where the Etruscans used to store the wines. And this is 500 meters long and was started to be carved 500 BC by the Etruscans.
So this is all dug out of tufa stone?
Yes, and this is perfect for aging the wines, and the Etruscan people knew that. And tufa has the perfect conditions to age the wines in terms of humidity and temperature, and modern winemakers are trying to duplicate the same conditions, and this bottle of wine is more than 30 years old.
More than 30? Is it still good to drink?
This is absolutely wonderful to drink.
I've been bringing my tour groups to the home of Cecilia and Corrado Bottai since their parents were running the place. When I see the new generation taking over, and Cecilia pouring the family's wine into my glass. I feel the pride the Bottais have in sharing the fruit of their heritage and hard work with a visitor from so far away.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I don't know. I'm a romantic about this. I'm sitting here in this venerable house with this venerable family with grandma looking on. And when Cecilia or her brother picks up the bottle, they frame the family name on the label and they pour it into the glass of a guest who's coming literally from the other side of the world. And we enjoy that. We celebrate their heritage, their work, the fruit of their labor. And this is a perfect 0-kilometer meal. And for me, I've been there many times with our groups. We can fit 25 people in that room. We all drink the wine. We meet the family. We go into the cellar. We enjoy the cheese and the prosciutto and the memory. Now, you know, when I'm enjoying a nice bottle of wine, it's kind of scary to open a fine bottle of wine that you're not going to finish because it might go bad. I've noticed lately in Italy, a lot of places will serve glasses out of a fine bottle, not worrying about it going bad because they have a new way to get the wine out. It's called a corvin, and it's a needle that goes through the cork, and then they dribble the wine out, they pull the needle out, and there's no oxygen that messes up the wine. So you can take a long time to finish your fine, expensive bottle of wine, and you can serve wines by the glass that you normally wouldn't serve otherwise. This next little clip is just one of my Facebook clips, and it's crazy filming because I'm just holding my iPhone and ad-libbing it and swinging over here and talking to that guy and then saying something and then looking at that. And it's just one take. I do it when I'm in Europe. Every day I do a Facebook post. And these video clips sometimes capture things just right. And I was up in the north of Italy in Lake Como in a resort town called Bellagio. And I met a guy named Andrea, and he has an enoteca. And I went in there, and he had very nice bottles of glasses of wine, expensive glasses, available wine by the glass, because he had this corvin. I learned about the corvin. I wanted to share it with you. Check this out, and then you'll know why in some restaurants now they're able to serve fine wine by the glass. Buonasera, I'm Rick Steves. I'm in Italy in Lake Como, and I've just met Andrea. Ciao, Andrea.
Ciao.
And Andrea runs a wonderful little enoteca. It's called Aperitivo et al. And there's lots of wine bars in Italy because wine is a very important part of the culture. And Andrea has how many bottles that you can serve by the glass?
More than 50.
More than 50. And I asked Andrea, how can you have 50 bottles of fine wine open? And he said, corvin. And a corvin is a new way where you can take fine bottles like, what is this? This is...
It's already open?
This is a beautiful...
Amarone.
Amarone. So an Amarone is quite expensive. Yes. And Andrea is going to make me a glass of Amarone.
It's a needle.
So you stuck a needle through the cork. And that's bringing out the wine. And that's good enough because I'm working, Andrea, so you can say basta. And then you pull it out, and the cork is magically closed. No oxygen, no problem.
And the wine is perfect.
And I get to drink it. Oh, God, that is good. Amarone.
Very good.
And this is called a corvin.
Corvin.
And with a corvin, that's one souvenir I'm going to take home. You can open a fine bottle of wine and not have to drink it right away. Buon lavoro. Salute.
This is the top selection.
Oh, this is just, if you like wine and if you like Italy, you're in the right place.
The best Brunello.
Ciao, the best Brunello. Just don't tease me. Yeah. So, you know, one thing I'm fascinated by, in Italy, all the best wines, to me, they start with A or B, the letter A or B. Barbarossa, Barbera d'Alba, Barolo, Barbaresco, Brunello, and right there, Amarone. So when you're traveling in Italy, you'll find expensive wines available by the glass, thanks to that Caravan. I want to remind you, this is what I do. I was just running around in Bellagio looking at all the little enotechi and figuring out which one's run by a wonderful guy that will be a good, honorable, honest sort of businessman for my travelers. And we put it in this book, 1,200 pages of information, page 256. You've got the whole description about that little wine shop in there. And I've been thinking lately about COVID and how these little companies are going to survive. I just hope and pray that the little companies here in the United States and in Europe can get through this last couple of months of COVID, because it's awfully tough for the little companies. And first thing I'm going to do when this COVID pandemic's over is go to Europe with my staff, and we're going to clean up all the mess caused by COVID, and we're going to make sure our guidebooks are up to date. We're going to know who's still in business, and those little businesses that are still going, like Antonio's here, they're going to get our listing, so our travelers will connect with them and have a good time. We're going to meet Roberto again, Roberto Becchi, and he's going to take us truffle hunting right now. And I want to remind you, this is a celebration of what is in season. When you're traveling in Italy, what's on the daily list is the stuff that's in season. If it's porcini mushrooms, white asparagus, zucchini flowers, whatever's on the daily special, you'll want to have. I'm having this, this wonderful artichoke pasta here. And we're going to go to a little village that's having its artichoke festival. I can guarantee you, if you went into the restaurants on the day we went to the artichoke festival, they'd be serving this pasta and you'd be crazy to order a different one. We're going to go now truffle hunting and then to a little village during the artichoke festival.
It's me. When in Tuscany, I team up with my friend and fellow tour guide, Roberto Becchi. He always has some creative ways to get off the beaten path and closer to the culture. This time, it's truffles. We're meeting Fabio and his prize dogs, Nick and Susie, to hunt the beloved truffles, one of this region's specialties.
So basically, what are truffles?
Truffles are mushrooms that live underground.
Okay. And where do you find them?
You find them near the oak trees.
Like here?
Yeah.
So these dogs are onto something.
Perfect environment.
What kind of environment do they like?
Where they need a lot of moisture.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And tell me about these dogs.
Where these dogs are trained for years.
Right.
Before they can find a mushroom.
They smell it out.
They smell it out.
Dove?
The dogs are given two commands. Dove means where is it? And che, is there one?
Dove, che!
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 Oh. Did he find something?
Yeah.
Dove, Okay. Now, he's got this tool
Yes.
here. What's the
It's
deal?
called vangino.
Vangino.
It's to dig out the truffle. I see one.
Oh, there it
I
is.
see it. All right.
So this is the precious truffle.
The famous truffle.
In Italian, tartufo.
Tartufo, correct.
And people pay a lot of money for this.
$100 a pound.
Look at that, $100
For this one.
Ooh, smell that.
Oh, it's wonderful. With the pasta.
Hey, pranzo.
Did you hear how I was able to connect with my new Italian friend there with my single word, pranzo, lunch? I'm horrible with languages, but there are key words you need to know and then use them. You know, lunch, pranzo, good work, buon lavoro, compliments, complimenti, incredible, incredibile, full-bodied, corposo. If you know just a few single words, I mean, I don't want to be defeatist, but I am defeatist. I'm never going to speak another language, but I know the words, I can connect, and I can remember that people appreciate you knowing the words and trying.
Just down the road, the village of Chiusere is celebrating its annual Artichoke Festival. People from all around gather to celebrate the peak of the artichoke season. Young and old gather to prepare these bristly treats.
Ah, they love their artichokes here.
They're wonderful.
I can see why. It's tasty. What is it about these artichokes?
Well, this community brought back this artichoke from extinction.
This particular species?
This particular species here.
Wow. So they have a festival every year then, huh?
Every year.
Tell me about this slow food. This is related to the slow food movement, right?
Absolutely. It's the idea that you have to eat quality and not quantity, and that you have to preserve the variety of foods.
So no chemicals?
No chemicals first, but also the varieties.
Okay.
More varieties, better.
And eat in the season?
Absolutely. Always in season.
Well, I'll be...
Think about it. Truffles, artichokes, the cheese, all the local beautiful ingredients with the local wine, celebrated. Slow food. Traditions. Italians pay more to keep their heritage alive, to get the quality, to eat with the season. They know the best way to control nature is to obey her. And here we're celebrating that in a little village artichoke festival. By the way, notice the wonderful choice of music that our editor, Steve Camerano, has chosen for these little snips of Italy. It adds so much to the TV show. I'm so thankful for the work that my crew does. Simon, Steve, and so many people on our staff that make this content possible.
Next year for the Artichoke Festival. It's great.
Absolutely.
And food just doesn't get much slower than cheese making. In the nearby hills, a flock of free-range sheep and a few noble goats head back to munch spring grass after being milked. Victoria, with a little help, hauls their fresh milk into her cheese workshop. She starts by pouring the milk into a big kettle to warm. When it gets to the right temperature, she mixes in a thistle flour solution instead of rennet to get it to curdle. Then, when it reaches the right consistency, she stirs it and separates the curds and whey, or liquid. She presses the curds into forms made of beechwood, gently squeezing the moisture out. Afterwards, Victoria lovingly tends her aging rounds of cheese. Farms like this are part of Italy's growing slow food movement, where producers maintain the labor-intensive traditions and consumers are willing to pay extra for the quality. Meanwhile, back at the agriturismo, the cattle, oblivious to their fate, are raised in free-range bliss. These Chianina cows are celebrated throughout Tuscany for their lean and tasty beef. It's Sunday, and Roberto's Slow Food Group is enjoying a convivial lunch on the farm. Our meal couldn't be more fresh. Local wine, Victoria's cheese, today's crunchy bread. We're grating some of those exquisitely pungent truffles on our pasta. The artichokes are gobbled down raw by young and old, a leafy delicacy. And our Florentine cut steak is cooked just the way locals like it, rare and sliced thin, good enough for a Medici prince. Lunch is the main event on this timeless Tuscan Sunday.
Good enough for a Medici prince. It honestly is. You cannot have a better experience spending more money. And I don't know if I'm just so romantic about Europe or what, but I don't think the United States quite gets it. I mean, we think you can spend more and get more. We think it's faster is better, bigger is better. And in Italy, they know there's more to life than increasing its speed. Here we are enjoying a Sunday afternoon lunch with Roberto's Slow Food Movement Club. It's local. It's 0 kilometer. It's in season. It's simple. It's organic. It's sustainable. It's cheap. It's tasty. It's community. It's beautiful. It's an inspiration. And we enjoy that inspiration when we travel. At least that's our goal. We need to travel in a way, we should aspire to travel in a way where we can get into a different tempo, like I'm so thankful to get into here, and then share it thanks to public television.
Chianti, with its rugged hills and farmland, charms visitors with a slower, more rustic lifestyle. This farmer prunes his olive trees, employing a lifetime of experience to maximize the fall harvest. In his vineyard, as they do each spring, tender shoots are bursting out of their gnarly vines, filled with promise. South of Chianti is a region called the Crete, where the hills are more gentle. This quintessential Tuscan landscape features clay hills, the topsoil washed away by ages of rain and wind, and iconic lanes of cypress trees, planted to slow that erosion. The dramatic beauty of the countryside changes with the season and with the time of day. In the springtime, the rolling fields are splashed with colorful flowers. This is wine country, home of the famous and much-loved Brunello di Montalcino. And vineyards welcome guests who call ahead. We've got appointments with 2 wineries, a large corporate winery first, and then a smaller family-run farm. The Altesino winery is elegant and stately. It looks out over an expanse of vineyards with the hill town of Montalcino on the horizon.
So on the horizon, there's a little town called Montalcino. It's confusing, as I mentioned earlier. There's Montalcino and there's well, this is Montalcino right here. The famous wine, the best wine is around the boring town, Montepulciano. That's this wine here. That is the best town, Montepulciano. And if you're visiting, try to spend the night. So many people side trip down from Florence or Siena, but spend the night in a little town or on a farmhouse B&B, and you'll wake up in the morning and you'll be there. And that really makes a difference.
Guides take visitors on an informative stroll through the entire winemaking process. So how old do the vines get?
Think a Sangiovese vine naturally arrives at 50, 60 years old, but there are wineries that still have the wine from a century ago.
Here it's clear modern technology complements tradition, and after centuries of trial and error, wines are better today than ever before. Each year, 70,000 bottles of this producer's prized Brunello work their way through this exacting process. It's a labor-intensive industry, but right now, the grapes are doing all the work as they age in their oak casks. And each tour ends up in the tasting room to help visitors appreciate why Brunello is so highly regarded. Nearby, the much smaller winery of Santa Giulia offers a more intimate visit.
A more intimate visit. Now, when I was putting together our shoot, I wanted to see a big formal corporate winery, which we just visited, and then just a little family winery right here. That's it, right there, the whole thing. The family lives there, the wine is aged there, and this is their fields. And what is this, 2015? Just less than a decade ago, these the grapes that made this beautiful bottle were right there in front of us, and now we're drinking it right now, and we're just about done with this bottle, and I'm just thinking it gets better and better. When we're thinking about great wine in Tuscany, the key is Sangiovese. That's the local grape, Sangiovese. In fact, Brunello means the brown grape because it's kind of brown in color, and it's actually Sangiovese. They thought it was a different grape, but by the way they make it or whatever, it's a brown colored Sangiovese. Brunello has to be 100% Sangiovese. It's the best wine, the most high standard wine in Tuscany, the most expensive wine in Tuscany. Rivaling that is something called the Super Tuscan. The Super Tuscan is a blend. It breaks the rules. It's about 70% Sangiovese, and then the vintner gets to try different, creative, non-conformist varieties of local grapes with it, and he produces the Super Tuscan. I also want to remind you that there is the Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, and this to me is the poor man's Brunello. I rarely buy a bottle of Brunello because it's so expensive, but for half the price you can get the Vino Nobile, and it's darn good. And this is 70% Sangiovese and then other local grapes. So we're going to see now the stark difference between the big corporate winery and the little family winery. And right here, we're going to enjoy meeting the family and having lunch with them who made the wine that's making my night.
Taking visitors into his vineyard, Gianluca enjoys sharing the fine points of producing his Brunello wine.
The grapes that we used for Brunello is called Sangiovese Grosso. By law, by the DOCG, Brunello di Montalcino must be 100% Sangiovese. This is the most important difference between Brunello and other important red wine from Tuscany. This soil is a mix of clay and sand. The characteristic of the clay is that keep the water, the humidity underground. If you give water, you stimulate the root to go up to find the water. If you don't give water, you stimulate the root to go down, to go deep, to find the water, and they find minerals too underground. So the taste of the grapes and then taste of the wine then is different.
So again, no pain, no gain. I've heard about that in France and in Italy. The finest vineyards, if you give them the water, the grapes, the vines go up. If you don't give them the water, they reach down, they struggle, they reach, they to survive, they have to be strong. They've quenched their thirst, and you get more minerals and more personality and more strength, and you get the Brunello.
Producing such a fine wine requires a huge investment and lots of expertise. Surrounded by stainless steel vats that produce 10,000 bottles a year, father and son monitor the process, carefully tasting and discussing the potential of this year's vintage. The aging process carries on in oak barrels. There's more tasting as the wine continues its long journey to the bottle. Seeing father, son, and grandson together amid these towering casks is a reminder that this is a rural art form passed from generation to generation.
Look, oh, look at that scene. Grandpa, dad, and the son, 3 generations in a vineyard making the beautiful wine, as probably 6 generations have. I don't know if that's going to be here in our society because it's not as efficient. It can be bought out. It can be scaled up. It can be economy of scale and so on. But here in Italy, people appreciate that. They're never going to be as rich as us materially, but they can be as rich as us in embracing what really matters in life. I find it inspirational. I'm not a great example of, walking the talk, but I find it very inspirational.
To cap our visit, Gianluca's mother is orchestrating the final touches of a delightful lunch, which, of course, includes homemade pasta. It's a local feast with everything farm-made here in Tuscany. The enticing array of pecorino cheeses, prosciutto, and salami are all an ideal complement to what this family believes is the best wine in Italy. As they share...
So there you go. Oh boy, did you see that amazing plate? Let me just show you this spread again, because this is the antipasto right there. And that, the beautiful meats and cheeses and vegetables from right there in the season, that with the wine, I mean, that's a meal. You add a bowl of spaghetti to that, and I'm in hog heaven.
This prosciutto and salami are all an ideal complement to what this family believes is the best wine in Italy. As they share their Brunello, it's clear the family appreciates the happiness their work brings to wine lovers not only here, but all over the world. If anything characterizes the Tuscan lifestyle, it's a knack for taking time to savor simple quality.
Here's to good wine and good family.
Whether it's wine, food, art, or friendships.
Wine, food, art, or friendships. It's always a frustration for me in the TV shows that I can't include more information, and that's why I write. And I've long wanted to collect my favorite 100 articles into a book. And this is my newest book, For the Love of Europe. And I want to just kind of plug that book right now, because if you're sort of inspired by all of this beautiful culture and so on, the traveler experiences, you'll enjoy this book. Here's a little 1-minute roll-in that explains all the fun that's behind the scenes that doesn't have time to make it into the show.
For the Love of Europe shares my favorite memories from decades of travel in 100 essays. This book, filled with vivid photos, is both intimate and fun to read. My greatest hits collection of Europe's most exciting experiences. You'll enjoy an all-day walk along an alpine ridge, soak up the French countryside on a canal barge, and take a friendly swing with a bell ringer in a medieval church spire. It's just you and me as we discover lonesome stone circles, explore ruined castles, and peek in on Europe's leading pipe organist at work. We'll join pilgrims on the Camino de Santiago, hear a French farmer's defense of foie gras, and shake up our livers with an English lord on his old exercise chair.
You bounce up and down.
And we'll party, from Oktoberfest in Munich to the April Fair in Sevilla, and go to the races, from Siena to Pamplona. And we'll feast, from the streets of Istanbul to the tapas bars of San Sebastian. Rather than a guidebook, For the Love of Europe shares tales of a lifetime love affair with Europe. It's 400 pages of travel, fun, frolic, and inspiration. My favorite places, people, and stories, guaranteed to stoke vivid dreams of happy travels.
You know, I wish all of this was totally accessible equally to everybody, me and all of my readers and the people who take our tours and so on. And we have an ethic in our TV show of never filming anything that our viewers can't do on their own. And I was just thinking, is it really true that what I'm showing you is accessible for the tourist without all the friends and the TV camera and the, you know, the people in the tourist board that are going to help you out and so on? And I would say a lot of it is. I mean, a good traveler who knows how to make friends and make it happen and grab that serendipity and turn it into positive serendipity can have the experiences. But what is my secret trick? It's hiring local guides. It's kind of expensive, but picnic for dinner. Picnic for dinner and hire a local guide. Because when you have a local guide, that guide's going to pull out all the stops to introduce you to these experiences. And that's what I've been doing in my work, is capitalizing on local guides in Europe to connect me more intimately than the typical American tourist could be connected. Okay, now we're going to go to the ultimate sort of Tuscan countryside farmhouse B&B, the agriturismo. To call yourself an agriturismo, you got to be a working farm. You got to make money in agriculture. And then the government gives you permission to call yourself an agriturismo, and you can subsidize your struggling income of it as a small farm by renting out rooms to travelers, and they can have this country farm experience. It's a clever way to keep small family farms vital. So we're going to Signora Gori's estate here, her mansion. And I'm a big fan of Downton Abbey. And they've got this beautiful dog. And I thought, why don't we open up the scene by tracking the dog like they did in the beginning of Downton Abbey with the music? So it's tough to follow a dog with a camera because they don't follow directions. And we just found some similar kind of music. But here you're going to follow the dog like in Downton Abbey with a little bit of the music like Downton Abbey. And then we're going to meet this family and we're going to enjoy countryside, rustic elegance, gourmet elegance, and frankly, the fruits of a lot of hard research. It is the hardest thing in my book is to get out there and find the best farmhouse B&Bs, because you got to drive all over creation. A lot of them are mediocre and some of them are really great.
Aristocratic countryside elegance survives in Tuscany. But for these venerable manor houses to stay viable, many augment their farming income by renting rooms to travelers. We're staying in a B&B run by Signora Silvia Gori. And like so much of what she serves, the limoncello comes from her farm. Signora Gori rents a few rooms in her centuries-old farmhouse. As is typical of agriturismos, as working farms renting rooms are called here, the furnishings are rustic but comfortable. To merit the title agriturismo, the farm must still be in business, and the Gori family makes wine. The son, Niccolò, runs the show now, mixing traditional techniques with the latest technology in a very competitive field. Signora Gori is proud to show us her home. As her family has for centuries, she lives in the manor house. and the family tree makes it clear. The Gori family has deep roots and goes back over 600 years.
So it says Familia Gori.
Gori Pannellini.
All the way back to
1400. Okay.
1400.
1400.
Incredibile.
The family room, the oldest in the house, is welcoming in an aristocratic sort of way. Under its historic vault, Grandpa nurtures the latest generation of Goris as the rural nobility of Italy carries on. Upstairs is the vast billiards room. For generations, evenings ended here, beneath musty portraits, another reminder of the family's long and noble lineage. And Grandma passes down the requisite skills to the latest generation.
If that was bowling, it would be very good.
The kitchen, with its wood-burning stove and fine copperware, has cooked up countless meals. Signora Gori, happy to share the local bounty, invites us for lunch. 3 generations gather on this Sunday afternoon with no hurry at all. The prosciutto and pecorino cheese provide a fine starting course, beautifully matched with the family's wine. Pasta comes next, and the children prefer theirs bianco with only olive oil. And the little one, she's still mastering the fine art of eating spaghetti. Food is particularly tasty when eaten in the community that produced it with a family that's lived right here for 6 centuries.
It's memories like these that you take home that really are the very best souvenir.
They call this a 0-kilometer meal. Everything was produced locally. It's a classic Tuscan table. Simplicity, a sense of harmony, and no rush. Enjoyed with an elegant and welcoming noble family.
Well, I'd say that's good travel. And it's fun to be able to celebrate that. It's fun to be able to share that with you. It's fun to be able to drink some good wine and eat all this great Italian food. And it's fun to meet with you every Monday and enjoy a little bit of travel. So thanks for joining us. Let's go over to Ben and see what kind of questions you've had as we've been watching.
Oh, Rick, that was incredible. I feel like I'm in Italy.
I do too.
Before we get to some excellent viewer questions, how about a word from our sponsor for the evening?
Well, thank you, Ben. You know, you and I are 2 people out of 100 that work at Rick Steves Europe. And this has been a miserable last year since the pandemic hit. We were coming off of 2019, our best year ever, when we took 30,000 people on 1,400 different tours around Europe. And our guidebooks are, I think my publisher was bragging, 25 out of the top 30 guidebooks published in America for traveling in Europe had Rick Steves on the cover. We were just jamming, man. And then all of a sudden, COVID hit, and it's been 0 revenue for 1 year now, almost exactly a year. But we're keeping our team together, and we've got our guides ready to go. We've got our bus drivers ready to go. We've got our books, our hotels ready to go. And we're taking names on the wish list for people who want to take our tours. So we've got a lot of tours that we can offer, and we're going to be very conservative, but when it is safe to travel again, and I just got my shot a couple days ago, and I think that day's coming, we're going to be traveling. So I would remind people that we're committed to traveling safely and experientially in Europe. And if you've enjoyed these last shows, you would enjoy a Rick Steves tour. We have 40 different itineraries. Our guides are so good. And we're just aching to travel again. So go to ricksteves.com. You can go into the tour section and download the PDF of our tour catalog, which explains all the great tours that we do. First thing I'm going to do, I think, is take one of our tours. I can hardly wait. But until then, we just got to get our country safe and healthy. We've got to take care of our neighbors. We got to make sure it is safe and okay. And then we will travel. So we're going to be here. And in the meantime, we're just celebrating our memories. Our mantra is this COVID thing can derail our travel plans, but it can't derail our travel dreams. And Monday Night Travel is one way to keep our dreams alive. All right. Let's have some questions, Ben.
I'm so excited, Rick. First question comes from Kelly. She's curious, have you always appreciated quality wine, Rick? Do you remember when you tried wine for the first time?
No, when I was a kid, I was famous as the guy with the box of cheap wine. I had a big box of Franzia wine I would take to the parties as if I was contributing to it. And my friends could never imagine me popping open even a mediocre bottle of wine. But you know, it's a funny thing because I'm really don't like to be pretentious or over the top and so on. But I really love appreciating good wine. That's why I'm so excited about that Coravin that lets people serve a nice glass of wine without you having to buy the whole bottle. By the nature of the business, you couldn't open a bottle unless you finished it when it was really expensive. So you could only get good wine by the bottle, and that kind of cut me out. But now you can pay $20 instead of $10 for the best wine in France or Italy, one of the best wines, and you can actually experience it. You can do it slowly. You can do it right there on the spot, and you can feel it just dancing all around your head. And then you can taste that food, and you can connect almost spiritually with the heritage and the culture and the generations of innovation and hard work. And it's all it's an experience. So that's kind of a over the top answer, but yeah, now I appreciate good wine. And I appreciate going to the enoteca. Enoteca is a good word. That's not a restaurant. It's a guy who loves wine or a gal who loves wine with a little business, and they serve small plates that make a light dinner with a beautiful glass of wine. And everywhere I go in Italy, I'm looking for the enoteca to recommend. You can do the same thing in Spain and in France.
That's a great tip, Rick. In terms of finding quality Italian wine here in the US, do you have any tips, any thoughts on that?
You know, I've got a friend who has a winery. It's called Cana's Feast. And I'm sort of a Europhile, so I'm skeptical about an American wine that claims to be as good as a European wine. But of course, we've got wonderful wines in the United States. Here in our state, Washington, of course, in Oregon and California, we've got great wines. And my friend Mark was explaining to me that you can take you literally take the Italian grape, and you can take the Italian experience and passion, and you can marry it with what we got going on here, and you can make some darn good wine. So yeah, if I was more than just a European tour guide that loves wine, I'd be give a little more attention to American wines. But I think you can get American wines that have Italian characteristic.
Very good thoughts there, Rick. That makes sense. In terms of traveling in Italy, how does one book a private tour at a vineyard? Any thoughts on that?
Oh, the vineyards are easy. You don't drop in like you might think. I think in the old days you could. Now you call in advance and they'll say, yes, we've got an English tour at 2 o'clock and at 4 o'clock. And then you put your name on the list and you show up. And that's what I worked really hard, Ben, on. Thank you, by the way, for giving me the opportunity to hold this book up. But there's a huge chapter in here on Tuscany. In fact, there's an entire book on Tuscany that was derived from this book. And a big part of that is the wine tour culture. And you can visit those great wineries, but you got to know how and what time they're open and make a call. And then you have that beautiful experience. And I really enjoy them.
Yeah, there are some great agriturismo recommendations in that book as well.
Yeah.
So next question is from Lorna. She's curious if you need to get away from cities to have a good Italian wine experience. Obviously, you can find wine in Italian cities, but for someone who's interested in really trying the best Italian wine, do they need to go to the vineyard directly? Do they need to go to the smaller towns?
Oh, no. There's great wine connoisseurs. I mean, there's more of an opportunity to make your business thrive in Rome or Florence or Milano. So you can just seek out the places that focus on the wine. That's why I like Enoteca. Enoteca has a reputation for enjoying the wine. By the way, this is the end of our second show, and I've been sipping this wine now for 3 hours. And I'm not that concerned about how I look all the time, but when I'm in public doing talks and so on, I don't like to get that sort of wine lipstick some people get when they have dry lips. So this is just a simple little trick, but you put Vaseline on your lips before you drink that wine and you don't get that wine lipstick. How's that for a practical tip? Too much information.
I never would have thought of that, Rick. That is fabulous. I'm going to try that.
I was just noticing I've got no wine lipstick after 3 hours of sipping red wine, thanks to my little practical tip there.
You know what? I think someone actually asked about that in the Q&A. Yeah. All right, Rick, we have time for one final question, a personal question. do you prefer ultimately white or red wine?
Oh, that's too personal, Ben. I don't know. But I mean, I've been drinking enough of this now to be candid with you. I'm really into red wine. And for a long time, I had no time for white wine. Now, when I go to a region that specializes in white wine, I like to say, okay, show me your best stuff. And I buy when I'm in Germany or in Vienna, they're into white wine. And I buy more of a top end white wine. I'm not going to spend a fortune, but I'll spend $10 instead of $6 for a glass. And the white wine can be very good. But I got to say my glass is empty. That's what I got to say. First of all, I got to say, oh, baby, there's nothing like good red wine. So I like red wine better. I like full-bodied red wine. I like red wine that, I've said it, I think 3 times tonight, but there's something about it. It dances in your head if you let it, but you got to be slow enough to sip it, think about it, enjoy it. There's something good about it. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. This has been really a great opportunity for me just to pig out on great Italian food, thanks to my favorite local restaurant, Bucatini. It's been a great opportunity for me to crack open this bottle of Brunello that's been in my pantry for years, and now I have an excuse to drink it, and there's just a little bit left. And it's a great opportunity to celebrate a lot of friends I have in Italy. So thank you for joining us. Every Monday night, we're going to be traveling. Next Monday, we're working up to St. Patrick's Day, so we're going to be in Ireland, and there's no wine there, but there's lots of other things to eat and drink, and we're going to be enjoying some Guinness, I'm sure, and some whiskey, and some great Irish travel thrills. After that, we're going to have a Monday night travel with Samantha Brown, and I believe we're going to go to Vienna with Samantha with her new show on Vienna. And then later on that, we got every Monday, lots of great shows coming up. So thank you so much for joining us, and I want to just wish you happy travels, even if we're all just staying home for a little while. Take care, and we'll see you next Monday.